while Sean King was on, we got a statement from Rusty Hardin on behalf of Deshaun Watson. We also learned Deshaun is going to speak to the media today. I want to read you guys the statement from Rusty Hardin, who is still Deshaun Watson's attorney. I get a little quick reaction.
Can you do it in his accent? Can you read in his accent, please?
With a cowboy hat on?
I wish I could. I actually failed an accent.
Why don't you put it up there? I'll try to do it in his accent.
Let me read it first just so everyone can truly understand it,
and
then you can see it. But Rusty Hardin in his statement says, quote, Deshaun strongly denies the allegations in the Jane Doe lawsuit filed Monday. We have asked him not to comment further while this matter works its way through the courts, but are comfortable he will ultimately be vindicated. We will be ready to defend this case in court at the appropriate time, but don't intend to conduct our defense in the media. We would ask that people be patient while the legal process runs its course. In the meantime, Deshaun is going to focus his energy and concentration on football.
I thought you said Watson's going to speak.
He is speaking to the media.
He's
today.
not going to speak about this.
Oh.
He's going to talk to the media, and he'll probably have a preemptive, maybe Peter or somebody's going to come
He'll
up
have
there.
a statement, I'm guessing, to say that he's not going to talk about it.
Well, I don't even know that he'll say that.
Okay.
I think maybe a Browns spokesperson will come up and say, Deshaun's going to come out here. He is not going to answer questions about the latest allegations. If any of those questions are asked, he's going to turn from the podium and walk away. He wants to talk about football. 0 to 100 on that statement, and I don't love everything Rusty Hardin has done in Sean's defense. But 0 to 100, I give that 100. I think that hit all the nails. I think he said everything he needed to say. I like the fact that he said specifically, we are not going to defend this case through the media.
If I were, again, I'm not Deshaun Watson.
Right.
We all have different life experiences.
Yep.
One of the most important being he's black and I'm white. And that doesn't matter.
It absolutely does.
That matters when it comes to the court. It matters when it comes to public opinion. It shouldn't, but it does. But what I would say is, if I were in Deshaun Watson's shoes, I'm not, so I'm just trying to imagine what I would do if I was in Deshaun Watson's shoes. I would not let Rusty Hardin put out that statement. I would get in front of microphones and say, this is a lie. I never touched her.
Yeah, that's my.
And that's it. That's how I would do it.
I agree with that too.
But
100%.
It's not.
I didn't do it.
It's not
I want
his
to tell
forte,
people,
though, man. Like, he's not good
no,
in front of a
he's
microphone.
not as gifted in front of the microphone as some, and I agree with you. That would be my preference. I need to tell people I didn't do this. I need for them to look in my face and I can tell them this didn't happen. But
and your counsel,
short of that, I thought this was good.
Your counsel is going to say, Jay,
don't do it.
Jay,
you're right.
You hired us for a reason.
Don't do it.
You
but
have
Bull,
a job.
But Bull said his inclination, and mine is too.
Everybody's inclination.
Now,
all I would say, if he's innocent, though,
that's not
what do you have to lose?
Right, here's what I would do.
The legal system
no,
works,
I know,
Bull.
but I understand that, and primarily because they're afraid that opens the can, and then all the questions come, and then he might say something later.
That's true.
However, all of that being said, it's my life, and it's my reputation and career. So I'm going to tell my attorneys, I will follow your advice with the exception of I am going to make an opening salvo. I am absolutely innocent. I will defend myself in court, and I will be vindicated. That's my statement. No questions. That's it.
Yeah.
No more questions, bro.
No more questions, bro.
I mean, listen.
Now you can't get tripped up.
I think those are all good ideas. I think what Bull said is a good idea. I mean, I would personally step in front of the microphone and say, with conviction, why I didn't do it, or not why, but I mean that I didn't do it. Essentially, is what you would do. I guess because he has not done that yet, and there's been so many cases, it would be for me as an outsider. Or
no, he has defended himself.
I know, but not like what you're talking about now.
Right, I
like
see.
This staunch, no. Not doing it.
This is one allegation, and it is far more serious than the others. That's why it's
I guess I would have thought he would do that to begin with, and he didn't. Like outwardly, no, we're not dealing with this. We're not paying anybody.
Like 7 o'clock Monday night.
Correct.
Just call a news conference, come forward, and say this is going to last
but that doesn't,
45 seconds.
Just because he didn't do that doesn't mean that he's not or shouldn't be vindicated if he didn't do it. I'm just saying that would be one way to sort of win over the public a little more.
And we ultimately are not in his shoes.
Correct. I don't think anything that he's going to say in front of that screen is going to make anybody turn their head and say, "Oh my goodness, he said he didn't do it." I think he didn't do it.
Yeah, I don't think now. I don't think there's anything to do now.
No, because there's trust equity has been lost.
So my thing is, when you're a lawyer, the worst thing you can do at all times when you listen, trust me, because we talk about getting pulled over all the time. Well, I go through.
You speed a lot?
Nah, I'm just black sometimes.
I understand.
He's driving while black.
So like,
Yeah, y'all are funny, man.
DWB.
like so no, I'm not joking. Like sometimes, like I read my rights. Like I go through the state law. Like okay, just the other day, and this don't have. And trust me, this doesn't have to do with race. It's just about like my wife was pulled over. They said, "Where you going?" Right, and she was just walking down the street. Where you going? Now I'm looking at it, and I'm
Wait,
glad.
she was walking down the street and a cop pulled up on her and said, "Where are you going?"
Yeah, are you lost?
So it was in a vein to help her, not to.
I don't know. Either or.
That doesn't sound like I'm trying.
Either or. All I'm saying is I had to look up to figure out, like, if a cop asks you for your identification, do you have to give it to him? Right? Like, if a cop pulls you over, what is the protocol on whether
Did Tyreek Hill take you down this road?
Yeah, like, so yeah, the Tyreek Hill situation. So you got to know your
But
rights.
you do have to show identification.
You do in the state of Ohio. You
Yeah,
do have to
you
show identification. Now, here's the thing. Where I'm going with this is this: like, when you're Deshaun Watson and you're not a very good public speaker, he is not a person that is trained to talk about this. And sometimes when you are emotional, and you are emotional to a point where even if you didn't do something, you want to go on the attack. You want to say, "I can't believe someone said this." And when you start talking, now the recorder is rolling, right? That nothing he says is going to help him in a vein, because they can use that and say, "Well, listen, you said this. Wow, you seem kind of angry. You seem kind of angry."
You can't get into the
a little bit.
specifics of what of their.
I think you are right. I would want to scream innocent.
Yes.
But you are right. There really is no benefit. It's in the court of public opinion. Nobody's going to believe him.
How much
That don't
involvement,
already.
and it probably varies team and player.
Yeah.
But how much involvement do the teams have in getting in front of these PR nightmares because he's got three voices in his ear. He's got his own, and then he's got the team.
His team.
And then he's got his lawyers.
Yeah.
So, in your experience.
I say even more than that, Jay, because he's got his guys around him. His entourage.
I would put that in with his lawyers,
Okay.
like his team.
All right.
His team,
Okay.
yeah.
So when these things come down, there are meeting after meeting after meeting. Like, take us through.
I never
what happens.
experienced it firsthand, but I was on teams where there were some controversies.
on the
I
Love
was
Boat
on the
team.
Love Boat team
Yeah.
in Minnesota.
How was that handled internally?
It was a lot. We had a lot of closed door meetings about like how to handle it in the press and what to say and like all these things. But that was as a team. I can't imagine. Like I remember I was in Buffalo, and this was like when Marshawn got arrested for, I think it was a hit and run or something, late night downtown Buffalo. And like, yeah, these situations, the team tries as best they can to get in front of it and give the player advice. Now this is way different because you got so many different people involved in different states and different lawyers and all these things that I can't even imagine the amount of people and voices trying to give advice to Deshaun Watson
Sure.
and what he's supposed to listen to. It's got to be really, really tough because you want to trust the people that you believe are giving you the best, the best information in your best interest. And at the end of the day, I don't know that the team necessarily is going to be looking out for your best interest.
Yeah, they're
other
looking
than
out for their
the
best
team.
interest.
Right. So I think you have to listen to your attorneys and listen to the people that you believe.
And G's right. They're all going to tell him, don't say a word.
Yeah.
Not a word.
I would just listen to my counsel, period.
The only thing is there will be optics of that because even though there's going to be the preemptive, there's going to be a piece of tape that we run tonight on Channel 3 and all the stations in town, and they run it on ESPN. There's going to be a piece of tape, whether it's the Browns preemptively telling the media not to ask about it, or Deshaun starting his scrum with a comment where he says, I know you guys want to talk about the allegations. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm here to talk about football. That's going to be the clip that we have that we have to parse over. And people look at it and say, I don't know, man. He doesn't look very convincing to me. And so everything is going to be dissected, and that's what happens when, and Sean made that point, when you're the top dog, you better be ready for the fire. And there's talk that there might be a burner account that he started or someone in his camp started, which would be like the absolute last thing you would want to do.
Is this Kevin Durant all over again?
It feels like
the burner is alive and well. No, look, and the lawyer who is representing the women with the allegations,
Tony Busby.
This is what the intent is for, right?
Sure.
Because when you bring the allegations or you bring the claims forward, it sets the media wheel in order. Now we have to talk about it. Like, it's not like we could just say, "Hey, Deshaun Watson, Jacksonville." No, we have to. We're obligated to speak on it because he is the quarterback of the team, and obviously he's the face, whether you like it or not, of what the Browns are trying to do. So now, since it's set in motion, we talk about it. When we talk about it, the league is always doing this, guys. They're sticking their finger in the air and they're gauging. When that public sentiment get to a certain level, that's when the wheels of justice begin to act. I don't want to have to go back and remember, there was nothing that happened to Ray Rice in the beginning. Tape came out. They said, "Oh,
game changer."
Yeah.
That's
he
a
never
game
touched
changer.
a blade of grass on an NFL field after that.
So they're doing this, and they're trying to figure out, okay, what is the public sentiment about this? And the goal of obviously the lawyer is to try to get these things done. And if we could put pressure on you to say, "Hey, look, you're playing bad," and a lot of people in the middle ground, like you said, Dustin, a couple days ago, there are some people who are never going to believe Watson. There's some people on the other end of the spectrum that are going to believe anything he said. They're going to protect him. But for the majority of the people in Cleveland, all we are is sports fans that want to see the team win. And when these things pile on and you have bad play and you add this, the natural inclination as a fan is to say, "Hey man, this ain't worth it."
I agree with that, guys. The sentiment from Monday night on has been enough. Get rid of him.
I just want to play well.
I am too.
I'm in that camp.
I am in that camp as well.
I think it's most fans are in the camp of enough's enough. Like, can we just move on from all of this?
And the tipping point was 2 points, really. It was the fact that he played so poorly. Trust me, had he balled out 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and we won the game,
that allegation,
there would be a pocket of fans that were like, "Oh, I don't believe her. I got to, But because of the way he played, and because this is the most serious and damning allegation, I think it was a torrent of fans that basically said, "Oh my God, when does it end? Enough."
I was in a store. I'll shout out to Cleveland Bagel this morning.
One of the best.
And and they have a new location in Lakewood.
Very good.
It's always crowded. And I met a guy who was a big fan of the show.
Get a little lox this morning?
No, they didn't have any lox. We just went plain bagel and cream cheese. Left off the lox. I do love lox.
Money.
Love lox. Yeah. It was boring, but I don't know. I didn't want to eat lox on the way to work. But anyway, so I met this guy Carson, really nice guy. He's a huge fan of the show, and I talked to him for a couple minutes, and he just at one point he just said, he almost was like, what are we gonna do about Deshaun Watson? I just felt so bad for the guy.
Dude, every
he was
Browns
so
fan
exasperated.
It's hard being a
That's how
Browns
everybody
fan for
feels
the last
right
3
now.
years.
It's not fair.
And most of
Yeah.
that centers around number 4.
I give you the last 7 or 5. I just say 5.
Well,
right?
I mean, we beat the Steelers in a playoff game 4 years ago.
But when we got good, look at the arc. This isn't the first time we've been arguing about everything. We argued to death about Odell Beckham Jr. Mm-hmm. We argue at the end. We argued to death about Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, but
then we argue obsessively about Baker. Then we've been arguing
But now it seems like the argument's over. Like, I agree with you. There were 2 strong camps on all of those points. But now, to me, it feels like everybody has jumped into the camp where we're like, enough.
Right. We're just people are just tired. So he did a masterful job because he just put this on the scales. And it's very easy to, when them scales start tipping, and you start to be like, listen, I don't got the bandwidth for this, man. It's like arguing in a relationship, and the marriage is going bad. Mm-hmm. After a while, the little small stuff that you think you will be able to, weather the storm. Trust me, I done had a divorce. You go home and be like, listen, man, I don't care what we eat. I don't want to, listen, I don't want to care where we're going. Your in-laws are here. Let me just go to my basement. I'm over it. Like, you're just over it.
Like, after doing this, and Dustin and I did this every year for a while, and now we haven't done it in a while, but for the first time in a long time, we may be talking about quarterback in the draft this year.
Oh, we got to wait on that. We can't do that week 2.
It's week two's
No,
too early.
but I'm
Week
saying
two's
at the
too
end of
early.
this year, if this goes badly,
if this experiment
we
after
can't.
3 years doesn't
Then
prove
it's over.
fruit,
yeah.
it's a wrap.
Right. So then
It's
you're
a wrap.
talking about drafting a quarterback again.
Bolts,
And
when
then
you
it
say
will go
that-
down as one of the worst
I would say the
trades
second worst trade
in
behind
not
that.
just team history, but NFL
What do you
history.
think, Quinn for the win?
Oh,
Quinn Ewers?
Oh, come on, McNuggets, hurry up! hurry up!
Only trade worse is the Herschel one.
Hurry up!
I agree with that.
And real quick,
I agree
last
with
point
that.
on that, Bull. Ryan Wilson, who works for CBS Sports, he's been on the show before. I like Ryan a lot. Put out his first mock draft 2 weeks ago, had the Browns drafting Quinn Ewers. And people
Did he
went
really?
absolute and he just said it's a mock draft. It's before the season. Who the hell knows? But he had the Browns drafting a quarterback. He
Please,
said, I don't think Watson's going to pan out. And he got eviscerated on Twitter. And I'm curious
People
if that
get
same
triggered
thing
by the
came out
stupidest
now.
things.
Oh, they
Let's see
really
what
do,
would happen.
Bull.
But you don't understand how miserable that QB talk. Like,
Oh, I know.
Like scouting QBs in the draft week 5 is miserable. You've done it.
It's a long,
Many
long
years.
process if it starts early.
And you know what? It's all pointless.
It's
because
miserable.
who said Brock Purdy was going to be a life-changing quarterback
Exactly.
coming out of the draft?
And you know
Nobody.
It's a, and you
True,
know
but
it's
that's
a crap
the
shoot.
exception, not the rule.
And you know
Tom
it's,
Brady.
But
It
most-
happens every 25, 30 years. You're
most,
right.
Most of the good quarterbacks are drafted the top 40 picks in the draft.
and we have
And,
no,
and this
Even that,
guy
Bull,
was
the-
Mr. Irrelevant.
The hit rate of a top
it's
quarterback
crazy.
is
And by the way, watching
Sub
Brock,
50.
watching Brock Purdy Monday night, I'm even more impressed by him now than I was last year when I said he was a top 5 quarterback. I think he's improved.
Do you guys get sick watching Tampa Bay play?
Well, they
don't.
can't. I mean, I'm sure it turns Bull's stomach.
I don't know. I mean, the guy's a decent quarterback.
no,
no, he is a decent quarterback.
I don't think he ever. First of all, he's played his best football in the last
Tampa,
year,
yeah.
right? I don't think he would have ever played this well had he stayed in Cleveland.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
We'll never
I
know.
think he needed to be humbled.
He did have a season where he played very similarly to the way he played last
I mean,
year.
he's
No, I
on
don't
3
agree.
teams in
Yeah,
a
he
year,
did.
man. That's a humbling
No,
story.
because-
so I think-
2020, go look at his numbers.
If
Bull,
you
he
look
played
at
very well.
if you look at his numbers in Cleveland, he had the most turnovers over that 4-year span.
I understand that.
That's
He's talking
awful.
about the
I
2020
understand that,
year,
and
though.
that was second. That was his second year in the league. And go back and look at Peyton Manning's interceptions his first year.
Hey,
Sets
look,
the record.
man. Hey, look.
I'm
Good,
talking about 4 years, not 1 year.
Hey,
Right. So there were stretches where he's played exactly the
Hey.
way he's playing in Tampa.
good for that dude, man.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree. Good for him.
His career was almost over. He was playing for like teams getting traded every week. His people stole money from him.
He wore 4 helmets in a little more than 1 calendar year.
I'm glad he out here doing this thing.
Yes.
Getting his team
I
where
mean,
they
it
power
looked
to
like
him.
it could have been over for him.
It was very close. When Carolina, it didn't work there, I thought, man,
Isn't it great? Isn't it a great story though about like in life, like just opportunity and where you're at matters
Oh, that
more
matters.
than your talent sometimes.
what's
matters.
interesting about that, Dustin, is he'd been given up on a lot in his
Yeah.
life early.
Yeah.
And he reclaimed.
Yeah.
And then his career arc looks
Resiliency
like
is
this.
unbelievable.
And you know what? There will probably be a valley that follows this
We'll
peak.
see.
But now,
at the move, I still believe the Browns made the right move at the
At
time.
the time, for
it
sure.
hasn't worked out.
Yeah.
yeah,
But it
I
hasn't
didn't like
worked
it
out.
then. I hate it now.